As we move into 2026, 1 Acre Plus Homes had a performance in 25 that's a little surprising to most people, I think. As a matter of fact, most stats showed very little change. Well, how can that be? We're in a correcting market. Things are moving forward. We see the light at the end of the tunnel, but we saw very little change from 24, which was quite sincerely kind of a dismal market. But we did see some positive and some negative. So I'm going to show you both of those. 1 Acre Plus home real estate market does perform differently, and we're going to show you that specifically in this short video. Let's take a look. So the very first stat we usually look at is how many homes sold. Well, in the 1 Acre Plus real estate market, we saw about 14% fewer sales in 25 than 24. Now, we know that 24 was one of those markets where everyone was kind of disappointed. It didn't go very well. We saw decreases in average prices, increases in time on the market. Yes, increases in inventory, which is good, but not as much as we'd expected. So the number of sales in 25 was even less than 24, which is a little disappointing. But there are some bright lights at the end of this tunnel. And one of those is not days on the market, because it took longer to sell. It took longer to sell a home on an acre or more in 2025 than it did in 2024. Now, that's not really horrible, and the reason it's not horrible is because it's at a kind of a norm. In other words, the days on market has been ranging around 90 to 120 days, depending on the month and the quarter, that type of thing. And that's actually a fairly normal market for the 1 Acre Plus real estate arena. Maybe not in subdivisions, but it is for 1 Acre Plus homes. But here's where things kind of get interesting, in my opinion. And yes, I might be more interested in stats than you are, but 0.38, notice that's less than 1. 0.38% change in the list to sell ratio in 25 versus 24. Now, it did go down a little, meaning sellers pocketed a little less money from negotiation. Buyers negotiated a little harder. So fewer sales, buyers negotiated a little harder, homes in the market a little longer. That all sounds bad, right? But less than a percent difference is really kind of negligible. It's real sort of a stabilizing type stat. Now, I'm not sitting here saying we stabilized. I'm saying this is a type of stat that kind of looks like we might. Now, the price change ratio, all that tells us is when homes go on the market, how much do they change their price before they sell? So if a home goes on the market at $100,000 and changes their price to $95,000 and then sells, that was 5%, right? So how much do homes lower their price on the average before selling? Now, some zero, of course, some quite a bit, but the change was nearly negligible. That's not just less than 1, that's less than 10% of 1, 0.07%. So what happened with sellers who put their home in the market in 25 on an acre or more? Well, they did about the same as sellers did in 2024. And we're going to see how that goes in 2026 here pretty quick. Now, I'm going to share something with you that I share on nearly every video when it comes to statistics. Sellers who put their home in the market and do not have to change their price to get it sold means they put it on the market properly, at the right price, at a realistic price. And those sellers make more money. They simply do. It's shown to be true month after month, quarter after quarter, year after year, decade after decade. I've been doing this a long time, and it was true when I started, and it's true today. Those homes also sell closer to asking price because it's a more realistic asking price, and they sell faster. So people who put their home in the market at a good, realistic market price make more money, sell faster. It's just as simple as that. Now, we're going to talk about the original list price. What did sellers do with their original list price? Well, when they put their home in the market, it was about the same as 24. So in 2025, sellers placed their homes in the market about the same level they did in 2024. Again, that's not just less than a percent, that's less than 0.1%. So very little change happening in most of these. Homes that were removed from the market in 25 versus 24, about 2% difference. And again, very negligible. Not anything that you could really say, well, this is a big deal. No, about the same level of homes removed from the market in 2025 as there were in 2024. And here's the one everybody always wants to know about. Well, what about the average price? Well, the average price for homes on an acre or more was less than 0.5% different than 2024. Yes, it's a negative, but again, negligible. Very little difference. So what does that mean, as my thumbnail sort of attested to? Well, here's the deal. 24 and 25 were very similar real estate years. That's what it really comes down to. I believe that in 26, we're probably going to see more pronounced changes. Otherwise, we're going to continue to see a plodding market as 24 and 25 were. But it's hard for a plodding market to last that long because people do need to buy, they do need to sell. Lives happen, things change, and the real estate market moves on. And quite sincerely, I think in 26, it's time for the real estate market to move on. Exactly how much change we'll see is yet to be seen. But stay tuned and I'll show you exactly what's going to happen in the 2026 1 acre plus real estate market in 2026. Now, I did throw another video up here. This one talks about pricing. The reason it talks about pricing is because I think sellers are going to have to be very cognizant of the way they price in 26 if they want to see success. Hope it's helpful to you. Thanks for watching, and remember, it's your choice, so make it a powerful day.